Hello, guys. So we're going to go through the next assignment, which is going to be Lab 2. And Lab 2 is going to be talking about built-in functions, obtaining user information from an input, types of data, and then there's also talk about other built-in libraries. Okay, so let's get into it. Uh, Python has built-in functions or commands. Also, everything is case sensitive. That means if you type something in uppercase for your variable, you make sure it's the same uppercase to lowercase for your when you're typing it throughout the code. Okay. Besides the built-in functions, there are also other functions you can import. Okay. And that would be maybe functions, maybe for example, if you want to do some graphics. So there is a tool called Turtle. Basically, you type in import Turtle, and then you're able to access uh, other commands. So these are all the built-in ones you can see here. The ones that you used in the first lab was called print. Where is it? Right here, print, and then I had the brackets. The ones you're going to use in this lab are mostly going to be input, will be input, print, uh, integer, I believe, uh, and so on. Okay, so this is what you got so far in as a built-in functions. So now we're getting into what we're going to be talking about. So how to track information. Okay, so developers need to track information while the program is executing. Okay, one way to track information is to store information in a variable. Okay, and in order to do that, you have basically when it says here assignment operator, that's just saying you have equal sign. Okay, so equal sign in combination of variable will store the data that you want to be in there. So here is an example. Um, so you have, okay, so we're talking about snake case. That's just basically saying everything should be done lowercase, okay? Uh, and if you have two words, you can't separate the two words. You have to put an underscore. Okay, so for example, here is a variable name. So I type in the variable is called last name. I can't put a blank in between, so I have to put an underscore. The same thing over here. I have to put an underscore. Okay, so constant store information. Sorry, my bad. Variable store information throughout the program. Okay, constant is a variable that does not change. The value of that variable does not change. For example, in math, you guys use pi, right? So if I say pi is equal to 3.14, throughout the operation, pi will never change, okay? But that's for some things, basically constants. Like I said, uh, if I'm doing conversion from centimeters to inches. Well, the conversion, the constant would be 2.54, right? So I can say centimeters to inches equals to 2.54. So if you look down here, there's an example of constants that you would use. Okay, in this lab, I believe there's a constant, so you'll see that when you get to it. So again, assignment operator, again, that's like I said before, it's equal. So if I look at the example here, this is the variable name, and this is what I'm storing Jose into the name variable, okay? So name equals Jose, last name equals Batista, volume equals 12.34, and so on, okay? Also, variables can change at any time while the program is executing. So if I say my variable starts at, for example, count is equal to 0, then I start at equal to 0. And somehow in the program, maybe I make count equal to 7, okay? So now when I output that, it's going to show 7. Then in the next instance, if I say count is equal to count plus 1, well, it's going to do the operation, and then my output for count will be 8. Okay? So let's just give basically an example of what we just did in the previous page. So if I have my x, and if I have my x equal to 10, then if I basically increase it by 1, now x is equal to 11. So here's the before, here is the increment increase, and then this is the after, okay? So now inputs from users. So we may need to get information from people, and basically that information could be used for the program, okay? So let's get into that. So the command, the built-in function we use is input, okay? And input always gives you a string or text information. So string or text means it's not a number, okay? Even though you're asking for a number, it's still not a number. You have to put a command in there, a function in there, to change it into a number. We'll talk about that. So here's an example. In this case, we don't need to change it into a number. It just can just stay as a string. But in this example, the variable is name, okay? And I'm going to ask the person type in their name, okay? So name is the variable, and the input basically prompts the user to type in whatever the input is asking for. In this case, type in your name. Okay, and then as like I said, there's different types of data, numbers. So numbers can be either a float or they can be an integer. Okay, so float, all you can see with a float basically has a decimal, okay? It says fractional component, just means there's a decimal in there. And then integer is just whole numbers, okay? As you can see in that example. So inputs will evaluate the expression, and you can force the input that is going to be a string. You can force it and convert it into an integer or to a float, okay? So how you do that is basically using the int function. Int will give you the integer. Float will convert this number, 8.5, into a number as well. Right now, you can see it's going to be, it's forcing the 8.5, which is in a string, will force it into a number, data. Okay, so in this example, this screen here, we're talking about joining text. So it has a bunch of variables with different data types. Okay, so the first line says shoe size equals, that's the variable, and it's saying a float, and it's input. That is basically something that the person will type in. So shoe size, and we're saying shoe size question mark. The person will type in their size. And then the next one, the variable is brand equals input. In this case, is just a character. What is the brand of the shoe? And then this next one will be, the variable will be number. pairs, and then it's an integer, but within the integer, I'm asking a user a question, right? So I'm converting that answer that I'm going to get from how many pairs do you need into an integer. Okay, so if I type in here how many pairs, if I type in 2, it'll convert 2 instead of a string, like it's because it's in quotes here, we'll turn it into an integer. So my message in the end is equal to, now everything is all a string here. So you have here, and plus we have the plus puts everything together. Okay, it puts all the information together. So you need is under quotes plus. Now this here turns the number of pairs into a string, even though we made it here integer, it turns back into a string. So we type in str and we put the variable of number pairs plus, now we have quotes for of is under quotes, plus, now this takes it into a second line and we type in and it prints out the variable that we said brand. So whatever we typed in for brand will show there. And shoe size, and then here I enter the actual shoe size, the actual number was shown there. Now the reason why the whole thing is a string is because we are, well, actually everything that we put here has to be one type of variable. Okay, in this case, because we're saying it, we're printing out the whole message. We call it, we turn all their numbers that we had here from the user, we turn them all into strings, okay? Here's another example, okay? Your first name equals input, and then input, will ask the person what's their first name. Last name equals input, and I'll ask them what's their last name, okay? This is just saying a comment. Remember, hashtag means comment. And basically we'll print out with commas for variables and literals. Literals just means anything that's inside the print in the print command. So go to the print command. So I'm going to print hello, quotes, comma, and I'll have the first name, comma, last name. Okay. So let's get into, I'm just going to kind of skip some of this stuff and I'm going to get right into the example that is going to be your first example that you're going to do for your lab. Okay, so the lab, here it is here, lab 2. The first thing you're going to do is type in what you see here. You're going to type that in with the comments at the beginning. And where do you type it? Okay, you have to remember, you're going to click on this link. That link takes you to the IDE that you use online. You have to sign in, and after you sign in, you pick Python as your language. Okay, pick Python, that's the language you're going to use. Type in new, click on the new. Again, Python, get into it. And whatever that name of that program you're going to be typing, okay? I believe it tells you the bottom here. You're going to give it lab 2 height. So that's what it's going to be. And call it lab 2 height. Okay. That's what we're going to call it. Press create. I'm going to get right into it. So when I go back to here, we're going to type in all this information, which are comments. Then we're going to start going into setting up the variables. In this case, the variables at the beginning are constants. So centimeters to inches, we did that in capital, which is equal to 2.54. and then we go from inches per foot. We turn that. That's also constant. There's 12 inches in a foot. Okay. Then here, another comment. We're saying we're going to get information from the user. We're going to ask them, first of all, you're going to type in name, and then the input is going to be the question that's going to be prompt for the person to answer. What is your height? It should actually say, what is your height? Misspell there, but it should say, what is your height? And then here is a variable, which is height underscore centimeters equals float. And the input is, what is your height in centimeters? Most people, you should be able to know in centimeters. If you don't, just guess it. Okay, so it doesn't really matter. Basically, that's just a prompt. Now, another comment, and basically you're going to type here height underscore inches equals to height underscore centimeters divided by centimeters to inches. Then feet equals to the variable right up at top, which would be inches, height underscore inches divided by, we have the two divide signs. That means it's not going to give you any decimal. It's just going to give you the first whole digit, and that's it. Then you have inches equals height in inches divided by inches per foot. Okay, so whatever I get in inches, I'm going to divide it by inches per foot, and then inches equals rounding, and then basically put that's another built-in function, inches, comma, 0. Basically, I'm saying to the nearest whole number. I'm not using any decimals. So that's what that's going to do for you. And then a comment, and then from my output, basically I print bracket, use that command, print bracket, and you type all this in. And then when you type all that in that you see there, it should come out like this. It's going to ask me, what is my name? Or sorry, yeah, what is my name? Mr. Odebi. What is your height in centimeters? 189, I type in. It should show. Then it should show the height of Mr. Odebi is 6 foot and 2 inches. Okay, so you're going to go over to here and you're going to start typing that information. So first line, I'm just going to do a little bit of typing here that way just to get you guys to see what you have to do. So file name, pivot, lab 2, height. Okay, then you're going to do, again, hashtag author. And it's going to be student name, her name. Okay. So the next line, another hashtag for another comment, put the date, put today's date, whatever date you're going to use. Okay. May, I don't know, 30th. Okay. Next line, do description of the code. So description would be code is to ask for user's name and height in centimeters, right? Centimeters, and convert height into into feet and inches, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set my constants, give myself some space. So I'm going to do hashtag, it's what I'm going to do here. So set my constants. Constants, okay? Sometimes you got to move the mouse away, but it'll sometimes give you things you don't want. Okay, so my first line, I'm going to do, my constants are always capital for the variable, CM underscore 2 underscore inches equals 2.54. My next line would be inches underscore per underscore foot equals 12. Okay, and now my next comment is to obtain, basically I'm going to obtain user input. Okay, so what I'm going to do is now I'm going to type in the variable, which is my first variable, name, equals, now it's an input, so that means they're going to be asking me a question. So I put the input function, and here comes my my brackets. What is your name? Okay. I didn't put the commas. Sorry, the quotation. I have to put a quotation. If I don't, then it's going to be an error in the program because it is a string. So what is your name? Okay. So just move out of there. Press enter for the next line. Height underscore centimeters equals, now a float, the reason why I'm saying a float, because it could be a decimal, okay? So I type in float. Now it's an input, so I got to use the inputs, and I have another bracket, and then I put my quotations, but it's going to be a string. So I'm going to be asking a question: what is your height in, oh, that's right, in centimeters, question mark. And I come out, gives me the correct number of brackets, go to the next line. Hashtag, now I'm gonna, this is all gonna be calculation of the height in feet. Calculate height in feet and inches, okay? It basically starts popping up. The thing about this program, it pops up what I typed previously, which I don't want to do. I don't want the variable in there, so just kind of move this around and then get around that. Okay, so now under calculation, first I'm going to calculate the height in inches. This is my first variable, height underscore inches equals. Now I'm going to type in height in centimeters. So you know what happens? It pops up. I don't even have to type the whole thing. I just click on what I want. Height in centimeters. Now divided by, I need to divide it by centimeters. Now it shows up, centimeters to inches. So I just click on it, enter. Now my next line, I want feet equals the height in inches. So I'll just click on that. Now divided by, now this will give me, I put those two because I don't want any decimals. So I just want feet, because feet is just a solid whole number. divided by inches per foot. So I'm just going to click on that, pops up. So now my next one is inches equals round, my bad, inches equals to height, and it shows up already. I want the inches. And then I'm using a percent here. But basically what I'm doing is I'm getting height divided by inches, which is inches per foot, which is 12. And what this percentage sign does, it gives me the remainder. So my inches is basically what is the remainder of what when I divide inches divided by, when I divide the height, that is in inches, divided by inches per foot. So you know the value of inches per foot is 12, and my height in inches, which I calculated up here, okay, on that line there, whatever that number is. So if I divide this divided by this, will give me the inches, and it will give me the remainder. That's what I want. This percentage gives me the remainder, and that remainder is the inches part of my calculation. Okay, so now I'm not done with the inches. I have to round. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is round my inch value, right, to the nearest no decimal. So it's going to be a whole number. So I give it 2 0 decimal places, as you can see there. Okay, get out of that. Okay, so I'm just going to put a comment here so you can see that. So round the number of inches to the nearest whole number. Okay, so my next line, I'm going to do type in output as the comment, output. Okay, and then I'm going to do, here's what it's going to show as my output. So my print command, comma, I do my quotes, the height of, now you can see I put my quotes there, and then I'm going to have a comma, and I put name. So the height of, if I'm asking for the name, be Mr. Odebi. That's what's going to come out. So comma, and I have quotes again for is. Okay, and I go past that, and I do comma, and I do feet, and I do comma, and then I do quotes. That gives me like the units for feet when I want to put feet out there, comma. I know it may not make sense everything I'm saying, but as you do it, it makes more sense. Okay, so as you do this, it makes more sense. So don't worry too much if you're not getting everything that I'm saying in this video. You just got to practice doing the questions, and it will make more sense to you as you do it. Okay? And I believe that is it. So if I run it, if there's no errors, it should come out okay. Let's see what happens. What is my name? I'm going to type here Mr. Odebi. The next thing, what is my height in centimeters? 189. So then it says the height of Mr. Odebi is 6 feet and 2 inches. That is it. So when you do it, this is the answer you should get. Okay? So going back to here, so that's the answer you should get. So you're going to type up the code yourself, put the link in here, okay? Just remember how to do that, the link. Just click on share, and then copy the link here. You copy that, and then you go into here, and then just paste it here for me, okay? So that will be your code that I can get right away, okay? The next thing is just go through some notes here, and I gave you guys two more. So born and temperature, which are pretty easy. I want you to type up the code with the comments at the beginning, and then I want to see the outputs, and I want to see both files links in this document here. Okay, and that is the end of this video. Thank you very much.